Hello, ladies. This is Violet Lang, and I have an important question for you tonight, which is, do you have what it takes to get through the early stages of dating and relationship? And this is a huge topic because I see a lot of women who self-sabotage. They have a ton going on for them. They even get some great dates, but then it goes nowhere. And it breaks my heart because I want to see every woman get into an amazing love where she's cherished by her partner. She feels like a queen. She's a badass in her profession, and she's just an embodiment of love flowing through her. But oftentimes our fear and our anxiety will get in the way. So tonight I'm going to be talking about the things that you need in order to get through the fear and anxiety that can ruin the early stages of a relationship. But first, I'm curious, when do you feel the most anxiety when you're dating? Is it getting to the first date? And you can go ahead and put this in the chat bar if you want. Do you feel the most anxiety when you're getting to the first date? Like those pre-first date jitters? Hi, Heather. Or do you feel the most anxiety when you're getting between the first and the second date? Or do you feel the most anxiety when you've been dating for a little while, but you're not official? Or do you feel the most anxiety if you're being physically intimate, but you're feeling like he's pulling away? So those are just some examples. Pre-first date, in between first and second date, after you've been dating a little while, but you don't know where it's going, or after you've been intimate and you're afraid that he might pull away. That's typically where most women find their greatest fears. The other big part of the dating process when this happens is when you've been dating for a while, your boyfriend, girlfriend, but he hasn't popped the question and you're not sure when that's going to happen. So I would love to hear from you all who are watching. When do you feel the most anxiety and fear in your dating and relationship? And then the other part is, what do you do with that fear? Do you pretend it's not there? Do you get super defended and protected and act like the cool girl? Do you self-destruct and then sometimes take that energy into a negative direction, or get really picky, or get really, combative, or sometimes just get really scared and pull back? So there's so many ways that we react out of our fear and anxiety. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy, but I think it's really important that we address this topic because I want you to have the power you need to get into a great relationship, especially this time of year. This is when most people are looking for love, is right before the holidays through Valentine's Day. One of my colleagues actually told me today, someone that works with me, that there are more Tinder downloads. Like 80% of Tinder downloads happen between the end of October and Valentine's Day. So like 80% of the people that download Tinder, it happens during this time. And that's why I want you to be prepared. So fear and anxiety is not something we can just sweep underneath the rug or pretend isn't there, because that's going to create a guarded and also a false sense of confidence. So this whole idea of fake it till you make it. In some situations that's true, and definitely there's parts of the dating process where that's true, where you're practicing new skills and you're learning new tools and techniques and getting more in touch with yourself on what you want. But for the most part, if a woman is just faking it till she makes it, men can tell. Men can see that there's a falseness to that it's not true, authentic confidence. And the way that you need to beat the fear and anxiety is through being true to yourself and very self-aware. So the first thing that you need in order to overcome fear and anxiety in the stages of dating and relationship is self-awareness. Hi, Crimson. Hi, Crimson. Okay, cool. Biggest fear is being abandoned. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm curious, when do you feel that the most in the process? Is that in the beginning, or is that after you start getting close with someone? What I find is a lot of women who have the fear of abandonment in the first month or two of dating, they're cool. But then once they start to feel for someone and fall in love, then they start to feel that fear of okay, now that I actually really like someone, holy crap, what if something happens? So thank you so much for sharing that. And that's a huge one that most women face. And the thing that we need to know is self-awareness. Heather is self-aware that she has this big fear of being abandoned. If we're not aware of our fears, we're going to be walking around without paying attention to them, and we're going to be hiding a lot of things. And it's going to mess up how we're showing up on dates and how we're showing up in relationship. So having self-awareness is the number one thing to work through your fear and your anxiety. And you might be like, well, how do I develop self-awareness? You develop self-awareness by having someone who can see your blind spots, who can coach you through learning how to pay attention to your body. What's your fear versus your intuition? How do you know when you're settling for someone? What are the red flags that you should pay attention to? Ah, cool. Thank you, Heather, for explaining. She says during conflict and long-term relationship. We will get to that in a little bit. So self-awareness happens when we have someone who can help us see our blind spots and help us become more attuned to ourselves. And there's a big risk if you're not doing this, if you're not getting the support you need, not having someone who can help you see your blind spots, because what I find is that women are either stuck in a vicious cycle or in a virtuous cycle. So if you find that your last partners have gotten worse and worse, so to speak, in terms of how they treat you, how long the relationship lasts, the caliber of man that you're attracting, then you're probably in this vicious cycle where you get heartbroken, the insecure feelings are coming up, the false confidence comes on top of that, and you attract someone else who's also insecure with false confidence, who might be bullying you or not being high integrity with you, might be cheating, all of that. The virtuous cycle is like every man that I meet gets better and better. My relationships are always strong. I can get whatever I want when it comes to love. And you see that every single partner that you have gets better and better on the path to finding the one that you want to marry and that you want to be with or have a long-term partnership with. So just a little tidbit on the vicious cycle or the virtuous cycle. Now, the number 2 quality in addition to self-awareness that's really important for getting through your fear and anxiety is grit. This is determination, this is pure muscle, and this is pure resiliency. And we oftentimes think of the masculine as being the strong, type, or the one that's got really a lot of resilience. What I find is that the feminine is so much more resilient than the masculine is. The feminine weathers and endures all sorts of hardship. I mean, let alone pushing a baby out of ourselves, raising children, breaking through the glass ceiling, putting up with sexual harassment and abuse. Like, we are resilient creatures. But if we don't have that resiliency, then we might give up on our dream too soon. We might, get a dating app when the next person that we were going to meet was going to be an amazing partner. Or we might take it really personally if we go through a breakup and vow never to date again. And those things where we're afraid of our own light and we're kind of cowering instead of knowing that we're resilient and that we can get through anything can really keep us in that place of fear and anxiety. So you got to have a lot of grit. You got to be really determined. And then the third thing that's really important when it comes to getting through your fear and anxiety, the first was self-awareness, making sure you're getting into a virtuous cycle instead of a vicious cycle. The second one is grit and determination. The third one is commitment. So many people think, well, men have issues with commitment. But what I find is that women have a lot of issues with commitment. And the reason why is as soon as we get what we think that we want, we find something wrong with it. So let me know if you've ever been in this situation where, like, I took you on a great date, and then the next day you were thinking, oh my gosh, I think I messed that up. You're over-analyzing the whole thing and it feels like it's unraveling with every single thought. I know I've been there and a lot of women that I work with have. Or how many times have you thought, okay, this is a great relationship, but okay, where is it going? It's like our anxiety can eat away the beauty of what we're creating. And it can keep us in our heads and it can keep us from really celebrating and enjoying the moment and appreciating the guy in our life versus taking him down or tearing him down, so to speak. So you got to be super committed to your dream of love and committed to enjoying the process. And that means finding the pleasure in every date. That means honoring yourself and tending your own garden in between dates or during a relationship so that you don't focus on what's wrong. You're focusing on what's going well. And especially in long-term relationship, like when conflict comes up, to Heather's point, oftentimes we want to walk on eggshells, we want to withhold our truth, or we want to drop the grenade on the other person. So what I see oftentimes is that women will maybe be used to walking on eggshells and withholding their truth because of a fear of abandonment. But then when they start to learn, like, okay, I need to speak my truth without guidance and without expertise and skill in that, they'll start to drop the grenade. They'll be expressing their truth, but it'll be in a way that pushes away the right sort of person. And so yes, we need to express our truth, but not in a way that's projecting onto the other person, that's blaming them, or that's scorching the relationship. It's really important to express our truth from a place of love and skill. And that definitely takes time and practice to develop, but is totally, totally worth it. And when it comes to that fear of abandonment and speaking our truth, it's also about knowing that we're safe and committed to ourselves, so that no matter what, you're committed to love, you're committed to yourself, and you're committed to being a woman of love. Without that commitment, then it's going to be very hard for you to navigate a relationship of any duration if you don't have that level of commitment to yourself and commitment to the process. Because there's a million reasons that we can give up on love. We can blame online dating, we can blame guys, we can blame the culture and the environment. But every day I work with amazing women who are getting awesome relationships, and none of those external factors are changing. They didn't all of a sudden change the city they were living in. They didn't all of a sudden lose 20 pounds. They didn't all of a sudden put a new filter on their online dating app that all of a sudden attracted, like, you know, the high quality guys, but they changed themselves from inside out. And they did change their online dating profile and the way that they approached it because they were committed to the process and committed to getting a different outcome. And you see that in every part of our life, and health and dating and everything else. Okay, so I'll get off that tangent, but the next part of getting through your fear and anxiety and what it really takes is community. So I'm curious if you've ever gone through a situation where you felt anxious or afraid of what was happening in a relationship and you didn't tell anyone. You're like, oh, I feel ashamed. I shouldn't be feeling this way. Like, I'm just going crazy. And then we start ruminating. We read every single text from the last 3 weeks, or we start overanalyzing ourselves or how we look. And that rumination and that lack of diffusing the energy can then make us feel really wonky when it comes to that relationship. Like, we might start being really judgmental of ourselves or of our partner. Like, why didn't he text me back right away? Or, oh my gosh, I said something wrong. And that just creates friction, and that friction creates distance between love. And what we want is intimacy and communion with love. So the community piece is super important because community can help you navigate those patches or those in-between patches, in between dates, as a relationship gets deeper, with a lot of grace and perspective. So typically we'll call one of our girlfriends and we'll start complaining or asking questions, or you know, we want some reassurance. Want some reassurance we didn't do anything wrong. Want some reassurance that they really do care about us and they will ask us out again. But we often are looking for reassurance from the wrong places. One of my clients has an amazing date set up for Friday with this really smart, successful guy who has super similar values and interests, very cute. She met him in the wild, so to speak, not on a dating app, and I'm really, really stoked for her. And she told her sister last night, she was like super excited about this date. But her sister did not like that idea, and I'm not gonna overanalyze why. And so she felt kind of deflated. And that's why it's really important that you have people that are on your side, you know, whether it's your family or not, or whether it's your friends or not, joining a community where people really understand your dreams, hopes, your desires, what it is you're trying to accomplish, and aren't going to talk you out of it or put you down or make you feel more afraid. They're going to help bolster your confidence and redirect you back to those tools and those resources and those skills that you need in order to get through the fear and anxiety. So as women, we are not meant to go through this alone, dating or anything else in life. We're designed to be in community. We are excellent at creating connections. And when we forget about that, when we don't have a lot of close friends, or when the friends that we have are really negative and bitter about love, we can sometimes feel like we're drowning. So the fourth thing that we really need when it comes to getting through fear and anxiety to build a long-term relationship is to have healthy, supportive community that want the same things, that want a long-term partnership and are willing to do the work on themselves in order to get there. And then the fifth thing that we need to get through our fear and anxiety is embodiment. So type in the chat bar if you are like, what the heck is embodiment? You can just put like a question mark or something. Embodiment is a term that's getting used more and more, but a lot of women don't really know what it means. Embodiment just means being in your body, connected to your body. And it is the #1 thing that men, when I survey them, are looking for, is they're looking for a woman who feels good in her body. And that's so crazy because, I mean, it's not crazy, but it's fascinating because oftentimes the media is trying to disconnect us from our body. It tells us that we need to make our body more like a machine, or needs to perform for us, it needs to look a certain way. But all of them that I've ever talked to, all the men that I bring onto my panels to work with the women that are in my program, they always talk about a woman feeling confident and sexy in her body, but they never say anything about size, shape, ethnic background, height, what a woman wears, all of those things. I mean, yes, maybe what she wears can enhance the way that she feels about herself, but it's never about the externals. It's more about the level of embodiment that you have and trust and connection to your own body. So the worst thing that we can do when we're feeling afraid or feeling anxious is to be shut down and disconnected from our body. And oftentimes that's the last thing that we think of. We think, well, I need to overanalyze this. I need to get to the root of it. I need to, you know, trace back every little interaction that I've had with this person and see where I messed up. And that's just totally wrong because it's just putting us in a place of not good enough and overanalysis instead of going back through our own body, using our body as a channel to come back to the moment, to celebrate how freaking sexy sexy we are, to remember that we are here to radiate love, to do something nurturing and self-soothing and yummy for ourselves. And so the fifth principle is to get back in your body. And that's how you know that you can help move through the fear and through the anxiety. So I'm really passionate about helping women get through the fear and anxiety, because it's so crazy to me that we have, I think 50 million people are on the dating apps, and only 20% of people meet online. So 20% of relationships are starting online, and yet most everyone is using the apps. So that means if you are going to use the apps, you have to know the right way to use them to bring the right person to you, and you have to know the right way then to date, to turn that date and that dating experience into a relationship that lasts. Because oftentimes you might meet someone really good and there could be great potential, but we get stuck and we get frozen with the fear and the anxiety, and I don't want you to self-sabotage. You've come too far for that. So just to recap, the 5 things that you need in order to get through the fear and the anxiety is self-awareness, which you get through the support of a mentor and someone who can see your blind spots and gently coach you through them. It's through having grit, which is all about resiliency and determination to be vulnerable and to keep moving towards what you want and love. The third thing is commitment, being deeply committed to your dream and being deeply committed to the process of finding someone that you want to be with for the rest of your life. And not means not looking for what's wrong and not looking for he hasn't done enough for me lately or these escalating expectations. It's about being deeply committed to the person that you're choosing. And then the fourth thing is being, I forgot the fourth thing I have written down. The fourth thing is being connected in community. Having a community of like-minded, powerful women who know what you're going through and are here to support you and totally have your back. And that's so important so we don't stay stuck in our minds, or so we don't go to friends or family members who are negative and going to take us off track or add fuel to the fire when we're in that, you know, that mode of self-sabotage, which we all get into. And then the fifth thing is embodiment, staying connected to your body, feeling good about your body, and using your body as a tool to move away from all the fear and all the anxiety. And those fears and anxieties come up everything from before the first date to in between the first and second date, to even during long-term relationship where you might be feeling conflict and afraid to speak your truth, or afraid that if you do speak the truth, it's going to be like dropping a bomb and then you're not going to have what you want and need. So there are absolutely ways to stay graceful, connected, direct, and open and attuned with your partner so you can still express what you need and want, even if it's a resentment, even if it's something that's bothering you, and draw the partner closer to you. So you build relationship through the conflict. You're rupturing and then repairing, just like when you build a muscle. After you go to the gym, the muscle's breaking down, but bringing it back together is actually what makes it stronger. And the same thing happens in relationship. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining. I am going to put a little link in the comments. So if you want some help with fear and anxiety when it comes to dating, if you know that you want to change these patterns and you want to get support from a community and mentor to help you move through this with support instead of feeling like you have to go through it alone, I would love to speak with you. We do free 45-minute breakthrough to love sessions, and it's a really great way to understand what's been going on in your life, what you want, and what you need to do in order to get there. So have a beautiful rest of your night, and I will see you soon. Mwah.